In a little over an hour, I'm going to be kicking off a 2-week live training course, and so I thought I would just give you a bit of a behind the scenes of my studio so that you can see how this is all run and how it's all coming together. So basically, we've got my camera, which is somewhere just behind that screen. That is an Elgato Prompter XL. Actually, the monitor itself is there, but you're seeing the reflection of that, and behind the sort of sloped glass there is the camera itself. That is a Sony ZV-E10 with a Sigma 30mm lens, and that is where I'm basically going to be looking at my output from Ecamm, the software. And what that means is that here you can see that as I look into it, you can see that the camera is looking back at me, if you like. But if I switch to any of these other views that I've got in Ecamm, it's going to change that. And so basically what I'm looking at there is the production. So at times I'll be bringing up guests onto the screen, and so they'll appear in that slot just there. But it means that I'll be looking in the camera, maintaining eye contact all the time that I'm doing it. Then we have the gallery view, so this will be down here in Zoom. So I use Zoom with dual windows. First window will be up there, and second down there with the gallery on it, or other way around, maybe the primary down there with the gallery, and then that will be the active speaker or spotlight view. Then I've got the touchscreen monitor down here. This is the Dell P2424HT, and this is where I've actually got all of my Ecamm settings running. When the Zoom is running as well, I will have the Zoom participants, the Zoom chat and things like that. I'm going to be able to control things like, asking people to come off mute, muting everybody, all the sort of in-meeting controls I'll be controlling from here. I'll also be able to just sort of tap to add people's comments to the screen, that kind of thing as well. So this is really kind of the mission control, if you like, but the primary way that I'm going to be controlling the production itself, though, is going to be using Stream Deck. So I've got two Stream Deck XLs. These are 32 keys. It's a sort of programmable, basically a programmable keyboard in effect, but it means that when I press buttons on this, it's going to do things that, like, change the scene in Ecamm that happens to be showing into the production, showing, when I want to stop and start the recording, all that sort of thing. It's all controlled via these Stream Decks. So that is the sort of main control of the production itself. And that is what this sort of bank of monitors here are for, effectively. Now, in terms of the actual production itself, that is, or in terms of the content, I should say, that is going to be on this main screen. Now, this is my main working screen as well. So you'll see that the desk's a bit of a funny shape. It's kind of not quite an L shape. It goes around in 3 parts. There we go. And so normally when I'm working, I'm kind of sitting at this position, but then when I'm recording, I kind of move over to this one. So this is a 43-inch Philips monitor. And what this allows me to do is basically have plenty of screen area for all the things that I might want to demonstrate during the video, during the workshop or whatever, and then when I'm just working, plenty of space to work on as well. But as you can see there, I've got a web browser up, and then if I go to Ecamm and I share a scene which I've got set up, this scene is set up to include my camera, which is sort of looking out there at me, but then it's also got this portion of the screen that is over there. So that's how I'm sort of capturing just that little bit of the screen and incorporating it into the production. And then obviously I've got space there to have lots of other things open that I may want to share during the training. So then over on this side, I've also got a vertical monitor. This is not for any of the video stuff. This is more like a productivity monitor. So for task list, to-do list, things like that, calendar, mail and whatever, when I'm actually working rather than producing video content. Now, I mentioned that there is a camera behind there. There are a few other cameras dotted around. First of all, we've got the OBSBot Meet 2. Just up there. That's a top-down camera, so it's facing down at the desk. So often I'm demonstrating things and I want to be able to show them. It's a great little camera for that, pretty lightweight as well. There's another OBSBot here somewhere. I can't look in here and actually point to the right place. There it is. It's the OBSBot Tiny 2 Lite, that one is, and it's a PTZ camera, so it's a pan tilt zoom, which means that I can control, where it's looking, and I can do that all with Ecamm as well. So have it tied to particular scenes, so it's going to look wherever I need it to look for that particular scene. There's another one of those just there as well. Actually, that's the Tiny 2, not the Tiny 2 Lite, but same kind of deal. This one is not currently being used at the moment in this setup. That's the OBSBot Tail Air. Then I also have this, which is the Osmo Pocket. Now, this is the sort of mobile camera that I use when I'm out and about as well, more for family stuff really, but it's great for in the studio just to be able to sort of, I need to show something and have something that's more mobile that I can pick up and sort of point at things. Then that is what that one's for. I've also got another prompter, so that is the Elgato Prompter XL. This is the regular Elgato prompter. And this one has a Sony ZV-1 behind it. So here you can see the way that the prompters work. You basically have the camera is just here in the back, and it is looking through a piece of glass, for those that don't know how teleprompters work. And there is a monitor down here. And basically when you look into the glass, you don't see the camera because it's in darkness behind it. What you're actually seeing is the reflection of the screen down there. Now the reason for this one is it's on a sort of wheeled stand here, so I can kind of move it around and put it wherever I want in the studio. So if I need a different shot like this, for example, looking back, then I could have that one fixed there. But actually the main reason for this being over on this side is that what you normally see in my regular videos, if we're ever talking on Zoom or whatever, is my primary camera view, which looks a little bit like this. Slightly different cropping because it's with my main camera. But this one over here is actually looking at this other, let's call it a set. I designed this room so that I had this sort of different view with a completely different vibe to it, really. I say completely different, they've both got pink lighting, so go figure. But anyway, if you can imagine this being a sort of vertical shot and cropped in, it's just a different look and feel slightly to what's going on in the background. Maybe not as different as I first thought, but anyway, and that is how that works. So if I now show you what I would normally be looking at, I'd be able to be looking into there, seeing the output from that camera then. So then when it comes to audio, what we also have is back over to the audio visual section, if you like. Over here, we've got the Stream Decks and the touchscreen monitor there controlling all the video stuff. But then the audio itself, I've got the PodMic USB. So this is the microphone that I'm using. It can be connected over both USB or XLR into your computer. Well, USB directly into your computer, or by XLR into some sort of audio interface. And that's exactly what this is. This is the Rodecaster Pro 2, and what this allows me to do is adjust levels of the microphone itself, but also with these other faders I can adjust things like the individual Zoom participants, or rather the Zoom feed I should say, coming into my production, control any audio levels from Ecamm Live or anything else that I'm playing music from, maybe Spotify or whatever, coming into a production, so I can control all of those from there. The other important thing that this does though is it also acts as my audio processing device for the microphone. So you may not be able to hear it, perhaps you can, but there is actually an air conditioning unit just up there. Now I've got an acoustic panel suspended from the ceiling that is kind of in the line of sight or line of sound from the air conditioning unit down to the microphone, so that helps reduce that somewhat, but there's definitely still some air conditioning unit noise in the room. And so what the Rodecaster Pro 2 allows me to do though with the noise gate in particular is have it so that when I stop speaking, it cuts out the audio so you don't hear that sort of background noise. And there's a few other onboard audio processing devices that it has that allow me to make other adjustments to the microphone. So that is the Rodecaster Pro 2. Technically I can play sound effects and things like that with the touch of a button. Don't tend to do that too much. The other thing that I do use it for actually is for events. When I've got speakers, then I can press a button here to have a back channel to just talk with the speakers if we're sort of backstage and we don't want it going out into the production. So there is some other functionality that you can use those buttons for as well, other than just triggering sound effects and whatever. So that is the audio side of things. Then in terms of lighting, I've got two Nanlite Forza 60s. Those are actually both the same light over there and over there. It's just that the softbox that's on the front of them is obviously one of them's larger. So that is a 3-foot softbox versus that one which is 2 foot, so 90 centimeters versus 60 centimeters. Actually, although I've been really happy with these lights, I've had them for, I guess, coming up to 4 or 5 years, something like that, or just over 4 years. And they've been flawless. You know, they've just basically been pretty much on all the time that I'm in here working, and in this studio, my previous studio. But the one thing about these, I'm going to say traditional softboxes, is just the size of them. So you can see for however big they are on the front, you know, this one's 60 centimeters, they go back as much, if not further, because then you've got the light itself. So the light fitting is hanging off the back of that there as well. These are mounted onto brackets onto the wall, and that is the 60 centimeter one. When it comes to this one, the 90 centimeter, you know, it's even bigger. So it's a huge dome and it takes up a huge amount of space, which means that, you know, all of this stuff here has to be kept, you know, quite far away from the wall in order to be able to sort of give space for those. Now, the way that these are set up, this is classic 3-point lighting. So you have what's called the key light, which is the sort of primary light source. That's what this 90 centimeter one here is. And then you have what's called a fill light. And the purpose of that is to kind of, if I only had that one, this side of my face would be in shadow. So the fill light is then intended to sort of fill in those shadows. Now, if you look at newsreaders, they're pretty sort of flat across all of their face. They have the sort of almost equal brightness on either side. So you could say, well, which one's which? But then you will notice this though, when you see people doing interviews and things like that, they might want to give it slightly more moody effect, and so you might see that somebody's, you know, more in shadow on one side than the other. But anyway, you can play around with that balance to get something that looks right. I've got that one slightly, it's obviously a smaller light fitting, or rather smaller diffuser on the front there, but it's also at slightly lower power as well, as in turned down, the brightness is turned down, just so that it's slightly more intense on this side. You then have what's called, I always call it a backlight. Technically it's called a hair light, and the purpose of that one, if I just sort of sit back down and turn it off, you can see that there's this light here. Normally it would be out of shot, but the purpose is to just add this light over the back of your shoulder and around the back of your head, and it's to give you some separation from whatever's going on in the background. If I turn that off, you'll actually see the effect. So there you go, that's with it off. Obviously I've got quite a vibrant background, so you perhaps don't see it quite so much, but basically if you look at my shoulder here, when I turn it back on and around the back of my head, it just helps to give that bit of separation from the background and help it pop a little bit. Now, this is, I said that I don't necessarily recommend these Nanlites, and that's because we've now got this. And if you look at these from this side, we've got the 60 centimeter Nanlite over here, and this one is also a 60 centimeter softbox. But I want you to just look at the size of this here. That is the Nanlite. And now let's take a look at this one, because this is just a flat panel. And actually, this has got this mesh on here to help direct the light, but you can take that off. It's literally a tiny thin panel, only about a centimeter, half an inch thick, something like that. This is the Amaran Verge Max, and basically this is what I just recommend to everyone now if they're going to want to level up their video studio or get themselves set up with a video studio. Just get a couple of these. They come with this stand, so it just sort of fixes to the desk. You can have one of those on either side. You can still call one of them your key light, one the fill light, and adjust the brightness accordingly. And then for the backlight, you could have a third one of those, but actually it's a bit overkill because of the size of it. You could just go with this. This is the Amaran Verge, so that is the Verge Max, and this is the Verge. This would be more than adequate to just add that sort of fill light, sorry, the backlight or the hair light for you. And as you can see there, I can turn it on and off, and that's basically done by the Stream Deck. So you could have all of your lighting controlled with the Stream Deck with the touch of a button, and I'm just pressing that Stream Deck button now, and it is coming back on. Incidentally, the things that you're seeing around the room there, those are acoustic panels. So you don't necessarily need to go that far, but they do make a huge difference if you've got some issue with echo and whatever in your room. Now you will see acoustic panels, or people calling things that you stick to the wall acoustic panels, like these. So this is sort of foam that sticks to the wall, but that is not the same as an acoustic panel like this, which actually has, quite some thickness. It's 2 inches thick, and you actually stand it off from the wall by, again, about 2 inches, something like that. And actually having it mounted off from the wall, this is something that I made actually, but behind this, look at that, I've got trailing cables. Normally that stuff's out of view, you don't normally see that. But this has got some material on the front and then acoustic foam inside, and it just really helps with the room acoustics. So if I didn't have these in, you'd hear a lot of sort of reverberation and echo and whatever. So I've got a few of those dotted around. I've also got one directly above my head, and I've got another one there suspended from the ceiling that's kind of helping to directly shield the microphone from that air conditioning unit. Incidentally, spot the hidden door. This is the way in and out of my studio, and I kind of concealed it with some of those as well. But that is just a little bit of a tour around my studio. Oh, by the way, this is something I'll be making a review of very soon. It's the Zoe box. Or Zowie box, and that converts actually the HDMI from this camera into NDI. NDI is just a way of passing a video signal over the network. So that is something I'm going to be using in my studio downstairs, which is slightly larger, and I've got cameras in difficult places to get to. So it's going to be a way to connect those easily and then transmit that all over the network. So that is just a little bit of a studio tour. Hope you found that interesting. It's funny, I'm talking about, you know, using all this studio gear, and I'm now just on my iPhone with a little Rode wireless mic. So the audio and video may not be quite what I normally put out, but I hope you find that interesting anyway.